Hello friends, welcome to this live stream. And as you can see that I'm live, and today we are talking about something which you may not even think, and that is this subject which is called triangle right here. As you can see, this is a title of our discussion today. But many people say that I see circles everywhere, but why not triangles? I think that is something that we should be talking about. That if you understand triangle, then you can understand lot many things in your life, and this is exactly what I want to draw your attention. In today's discussion, the agenda that we will follow is this. First, what are the different what is a triangle? We will try and understand what is a triangle. Then the obsession of ancient Indians and ancient Greeks around the triangular shapes, so we will give a little bit of history about that. Then what are the various properties of triangle that will help us understand triangle in a much better way. And then the formula. So we are not beginning our show with formulas, we are actually talking formulas after explaining the importance of triangles, and then how triangles can improve our future, why it is important for all of us to understand the triangles. And that is why we have to understand triangles. All of that will be discussed in the last section, which is how understanding about triangles can improve our experience of our general world, how we can actually tackle things in our day-to-day life. And just by looking at certain problem, how the knowledge of triangle can help us understand the nature of the problem which is visible in front of us. And so some of these items will be discussed during this live stream today is Monday, January 23rd. And as you know, we are live. You can ask question by using the chat function, and I will display your name, address that question, or any comment that you may have, or any suggestion. So let us begin our show, and let me go back to my notice board type of screen so that it's more interactive. All right, so let's understand what is a triangle. Well, triangle is a plane figure, because we are discussing triangle in a 2D format. We are not discussing a 3D format of the triangle. We are discussing the two-dimensional figure, and therefore the triangle is a plane figure which has three sides. So we know that there is a square which has four sides, there is rectangle which has four sides, there is other figures like that which has multiple sides. So therefore triangle has a specific space, a specific place in our geometry which has three sides, and that is why it is called triangle. So well, this is basic, but we all know the shape of the triangle. But if you understand the importance of triangle, then you will know exactly why it is so important. Now I see a comment, and this is coming from Chandrasen. Let me display your name, Chandrasen, on the screen. Yes, here you are. All right. So Chandrasen is asking, are triangles the strongest shape? Well, triangles are not the strongest shapes. The circles are the strongest shape, but they are quite strong. And when it comes to geometry, you can actually use very intrinsic and very strong patterns using different triangles by arranging them in the appropriate manner. So it is not the strongest shape in the nature, but it is the second strongest shape. All right, it is definitely stronger than a rectangle. So if you have any other question, Chandrasen, feel free to ask. All right, so we were discussing about the triangles, why triangles are important to understand. And I think we know that it's a three-sided two-dimensional figure. And what are different objects of the triangle? For instance, what the triangle contains. Well, as I said, it's a two-dimensional space. It has three sides. In addition to having three sides, it also has three angles. and it also has 3 vertices. That is very important, which makes it very unique. So let me draw a shape of the triangles to make it clear. Hope you can see these what I'm drawing on my board. So it has 3 sides, so side 1, side 2 and side 3, 3-sided, as the description is. What else it has? It has 3 angles, because these are the 3 sides are casting angles. Now these angles and these sides will basically create the properties of the triangle, and it makes it very magical, very different, by having a triangle with these properties. And since it has 3 vertices also, so this is a very unique space where you can create a pivot at these points, and you can rotate the figure. So it has 3 vertices, because the angle, when it comes about angle can keep changing their angle, and therefore it pivots from this point. Say for example this angle, it will pivot. So it has 3 vertices, and that is why it is a unique figure. It has a property which are different from other 2-dimensional objects. All right, so what else this triangle has? Well, I think let's look at the so let me delete this figure so that we can discuss about the history of the triangle and our understanding. Well, the understanding of triangle is not something new. Humans have been trying to understand the triangle and trying to solve various permutation combination they can have for millennia, almost 3 millennia. We know that there were Indian mathematicians who were actually trying to unravel the mysteries of triangle, simply because triangle have these 3 very distinct characteristics. That is, it has 3 sides, it has 3 angles, and it has 3 vertices. And there were various uses for these 3 properties. And Pythagoras made it very popular, because in school everybody understand the Pythagoras theorems, and right from school, 6th standard, middle school, the students are taught Pythagoras, and that helps children understand the nature of triangle. And then the senior sibling of triangle, that is called the cone. So we will discuss about cone later on, but let's understand the triangle. So Pythagoras was totally obsessed. He was a Greek mathematician, as we know, and very learned man, and very almost like a priest. So he actually was obsessed by triangles. He was absolutely obsessed, and he actually wanted to create a deeper understanding around the triangles. In fact, he was so much obsessed that he actually created a new philosophy called Pythagoreanism. It was sort of a religion. So and I will tell you what they were doing actually. They were actually working against the zero. Whenever humans try to calculate certain things, they eventually ended up getting a zero. And from the mathematics point of view, Pythagoras did not like the concept of zero, and therefore he said that there is no zero, and there is nothing called emptiness. There is always something in it, and therefore he went ahead using his political and his clout, religious clout, to basically ban zero from the Greek mathematics altogether. And in order to make this belief around triangle so strong, he actually also created a new religion. As I said, it's called Pythagoreanism. And to join this club, it was sort of a club. To join this club, all you have to do is follow the rules set up, the religious rules set up by the Pythagoras himself. And Pythagoras is this man. We know this is the guy whom we know because some pictures are found about Pythagoras from the ancient Greek time. And this is what he was doing. He was actually telling his disciples to always wear white, and not believe in zeros, and also eat vegetarian food all the time, have only one meal. And then if you do that, then they you join the club by wearing these following these principles, and that will elevate you in future. Suppose you continue to do that for a period of 3 years, then your color of your uniform will change, and so on and so forth. So with passing years, you will actually keep growing in the school, in university, and elevating your status. And all that was done by because of the obsession of Pythagoras with triangles. So can you imagine, such a thing can happen? Well, let me also I'm seeing some messages. Let me read out some of them. Okay, so Chandrasen is asking that why Pythagoras was against Indians, as Indians created zero. Well, in Chandrasen, to answer your question, I don't think Pythagoras was aware of Indians' mathematics very deeply, because in those days he was living in today's Greece, which was quite far from India. Well, the Indian mathematics was basically they created zero, and hence they created the decimal system. And decimal system was very easy to implement, especially by business community, because they can then calculate their stock to the last gunny bag. Whereas if you use a triangle, then you have to use a lot of jugglery and you will not be able to calculate your how much money you are supposed to get, and how much stock you need to give for that money. So that is why decimal system is liked and loved by the business community all over the world, and therefore the Pythagorean view of doing mathematics was replaced by the decimal system later on. And because of this, I think you have asked a very important question, Chandrasen. Because of this, when world became a global community where a lot of business started happening, the religious beliefs of Pythagorean also died along with that, because nobody now worship a triangle. It is absurd to worship a triangle, but they were doing that in that era because they were totally obsessed. In fact, if you see the Greek buildings also, you will see there is a lot of influence of triangle in their buildings. The roofs are triangle, everything is triangle. So the Greeks were totally obsessed, predominantly led by Pythagoras, to worship the triangle. Why they were worshipping triangle? Because obviously they were mesmerized by the intrinsic quality of a triangle. Because when they were building these large, magnificent buildings, you need triangle when it comes to construction of large buildings, and you want to construct a strong structure, you would eventually need a triangle. So I will explain that in a bit. So let's move on. So I've actually told you that the triangle has certain properties which we have to understand, and I want to give you these properties in a way that even layman can understand. When you look at a triangle, you should be able to basically understand what physical thing that you're looking in front of you. So one of the properties of a triangle is that, as I said, there are three angles in a triangle. So the summation of these three angles has to be equal to 180 degrees. That means the upper figure of summation of all the angle is fixed. So if you see a triangle, the angle, whatever angle, if this is 60 or whatever angle, these three angles, they are always equal to 180 degrees. Always. There is no triangle in the world which will not have the summation not equal to 180. So that is very peculiar, because if you make a triangle, you know that the sum of all angles will be 180 degrees. So this is very peculiar, and the ancients realized that this is one property that they can use to their advantage. And once you know this, then you know that if you see a triangle in front of you, you know that a triangle, this is one of the property that are all angles are when they are added up, they will give you 180 degrees, 180 figure of 180. So this is something which is very unique to triangles. What else? What are the other things which are very unique? The other thing, since it has three sides, and it's but logical that by if you want to basically create another property, that means sum of two sides, the length of two sides of the triangle will always be more than the third side, will always be greater than the third side. This is also very unique. So the architects and the ancients also knew these properties. So if you draw a triangle, then the triangle will have three sides. If you add, if this is 10 and if this is 9 and this is 10, let's say for example, then by adding this A and B, 10 plus 9 will always be greater than 10. Now this is true for all triangles, very large triangles, even pyramid sized triangle, even planet sized triangle. The property of this triangle will never change. The sum of two sides will be greater than the third one. So that this is very different, and that this is very very specific to triangles. So some of these things that you must remember, friends, whoever is watching, that triangle, all angles will add up to 180 degrees, 180, remember that figure, and addition of two sides, the length of these two sides will always be greater than the remaining third side. So that is why these are some properties which are sort of fixed. These are certain properties which are very peculiar to triangle. What are the other properties? The other properties are now let's talk about the types of triangle. So first very common type of triangle is the acute triangle. Well, acute triangle is that all the angles in the triangle are less than 90 degrees. What is 90 degrees? 90 degree is this angle. This is the 90 degree angle. We know that if we just draw it again, these are the vertices. If this is 0, then this is 0 degree, this is 90 degrees, this is 180 degrees, and this is 90 plus 180, this. So the whole circle is about 360 degrees. So a triangle, this is a 90 degrees. So if you connect these two sides, you get a triangle. Whereas in acute triangle, the three angles of triangle are always less than 90 degrees. So a typical triangle which is like this is not a 90 degree angle, neither this one a 90 degree angle, and also this one. So this type of triangle is called acute triangle, and these are the type of triangle that we see everywhere. Most of the triangle that you see in your day-to-day life are the acute triangle, this is what you recognize also very easily. This is something that you will recognize that, okay, this is a triangle, and these are called acute triangles. Why acute? Because all the angles of the triangles are less than 90 degrees. What are the other types of triangle? The other type of triangle, as I said, I briefly touched upon, is a right angle triangle. Right triangle. Why right triangle? That one of the angle of the triangle is a 90 degree angle. Say this is a right angle triangle, as you can see here. Whereas other two angles can be of any other angle, but the condition is that one of the angle has to be a 90 degree angle at least. So let me draw another figure which will give you an idea. So let's make a very, very thin triangle with 190 degree, like this one. This is also a right angle triangle because this angle is a 90 degree angle. So there is no condition on the other two angles. Other two angles can keep changing based on the length of these sides, A and B. If this is A and this is B, then depending on the length, the angle will be determined. But one of the angle has to be a 90 degree angle. So that is why this is one of the requirement for a right angle triangle. What are the other types of triangle? Now this is very interesting. These are the triangles that you will not see in day-to-day life, but after this tutorial you will start noticing them, because most of the buildings that you see, if you see a roof, they are actually made of obtuse triangles. Why obtuse? Because the angle, one of the angle of these triangles are much bigger than 90 degrees. So you can have a triangle which is much one of the angle can be bigger than the 90 degrees. So that is why that is called the obtuse triangle. So let's draw the obtuse triangle. And as I said, this is the base of the triangle and the angle has to be more than 90 degrees. So let's draw a line like this. So obviously this line is more than the 90 degrees. So if you connect these two sides, this is a very novel example of the 90-degree triangle, right? Sorry, obtuse triangle. This angle is more than 90 degrees, and if you invert them, if you place them like this, like a roof of a hut, then this becomes a roof of the hut. So this is more than 90 degrees, as you can see. So this mostly the roofs of the hut and buildings with sloping roofs, those are the clear example of obtuse triangle, because the central central point where the largest portion of the triangle meet is more than 90 degrees. So you see, by changing the properties of the angles and vertices of the triangle, you can form different shapes, and each of these triangles will have different properties which can be useful for you. So now let's talk about some special triangles, and we are now using scientific terms which are globally accepted because these are the terms which were given by Pythagoras, and Pythagoras made triangle very popular. So he named this type of triangle an isosceles triangle. Why isosceles triangle? I will explain that. So if you draw a triangle which has a shape like this, it's a very peculiar shape, and you can see that in this shape, this side A and side B are equal in length. So this is a very special type of triangle, and I will tell you, this is so special, it will help us, in fact, solve many problems of our day-to-day life and also scientific community. This triangle can help us. By using this cool math, we can find out so many things about various activities that we do in our day-to-day life. So for the time being, let's understand the isosceles triangle. Isosceles triangle has two sides which are equal. Now this angle, there is no limitation on this angle can be anything. So you can make a very different figure, a very thin triangle, as long as these two sides are equal, like this, where the angle does not matter. So therefore the condition in this type of triangle is that the two sides have to be equal. So you can make a very thin triangle like this, and these two sides are equal. That is called the isosceles triangle. Alright, so let's move on to the next type of triangle that we notice and we must know, and that is called the equilateral triangle. Equilateral triangle, that means all angles are equal. So if you notice this triangle where all its angles are equal, this is most beautiful looking triangle. And when all angles are equal, do you know the answer? Can anybody who's watching me live right now can give the answer? What should be the angle here? Can anybody take a shot on that? Well, Chandrasen is saying equilateral triangle, but what is the value of the angle in an equilateral triangle? Well, I think Chandrasen is trying, but that's not the right answer. Chandrasen, try harder. It's a very simple answer. So let me give you. So what you have to do, since all angles are equal, and we already know that the total of all the angles has to be 180. So if all angles are equal, then each of these angle in equilateral triangle has to be 60. So moment you see an equilateral triangle, you would know that all angles are 60, and that is why it is sort of fixated in stone. So when you see certain figures where people like to emphasize, show authority, and emphasize a point, they always make equilateral triangles. Many times advertising also use equilateral triangle because it immediately catches your eye, whether you believe it or not. But since it is an equilateral triangle, you will always notice that all angles are equal, and then you tend to notice any message written inside an equilateral triangle more than anything written outside of the triangle. So that is why equilateral triangle is very unique, because here in equilateral triangle the property is also fixed, in the sense that many properties are fixed, which is even the angles are equal to each other. So what are the other things that we have to learn about equilateral triangle? Well, I see one more message from Edify Learning. Thanks for watching our program Edify Learning. But you have mentioned 180, but I was saying that the question was, what is the angle in an equilateral triangle, which is 60. So I've already answered that. But nevertheless, if you have any other question, feel free to join back, and I will display your name here and answer your question. All right. So moving ahead in our show, now let's talk about the formulas, and that is the most dreaded. But trust me, friends, I will make it very simple. I will not make it hard. And even though triangles are used everywhere in our day-to-day life, the formulas it uses are very simple. And therefore, if you look at a triangle, you can actually identify a lot of its properties if you actually follow these formulas. So let's look at the area. One of the important thing is you have to know the area of a triangle. Well, when it comes to square, for example, this square that you see in which this is written, you know that the calculation of area is very simple. If you want to calculate the area of this particular rectangle, what you need to do is A and B, let's say these are the two sides, A and B. In order to calculate the area of this rectangle, A into B will give you the area. Whereas the formula that I have mentioned here for triangle is half of A into B. Well, this is one of the method. I will talk about that in a bit. But the generally accepted area of a triangle is what you will study in textbook is this. So if this is a triangle, this is the base. We call this a base of the triangle. So it has a length, which let's call it length as B. Let's say base is B. We call it B. And height of the triangle. This is a height, not the side, but the height. So let's call it this as height, and divide by 2. So generally what you will study in the book is height into base divide by 2. That is the area of the triangle that you will study in your textbook. It makes it rather tedious to understand this, because you need to first calculate the height, then you have to apply some angles and all that. So by visually looking at the triangle, it's difficult to imagine the area that you are looking for. Quite difficult. So I will give you another method which makes it even more easier. And by observing a triangle, you will be able to find the area very easily. So just follow through. Suppose somebody says that this is a triangle that you want to find area about. Now obviously it has um, three sides, so let's call this A and let's just call this B. And the problem is that you want to calculate the area of this triangle, and you need to calculate the height of this triangle, which is quite difficult. First you need to carry out Pythagoras theorem. So let me share the easy method. Let's make a mirror copy of this triangle. Let's make a mirror copy. Okay, so this is the mirror copy of the triangle. Right now, what do you see here? Don't you see a parallelogram? So parallelogram is similar to a rectangle, isn't it? And what is the area of a parallelogram, or what is the area of a rectangle? It's A into B. This will get, if you multiply A and B, you will get the area of this entire parallelogram. But we have created the mirror image of this triangle, right? That means A into B by 2 is the area, which is the formula which I have mentioned here. So the easier method of calculating the area of the triangle is simply take two sides. If you know the length of these two sides, just multiply with two sides with each other and make half of it. That will give you area of a triangle without going into depth of understanding Pythagoras theorem, applying various formulas, etc. So this is another method to find the area. So when you look at the triangle, just by observing you will be able to find the dimensions of this triangle, how much volume it has. Say for example, if you look at a sort of a water tank which is triangular in shape, or if you look at some building, or you look at the a field, you can immediately find out the area of this triangular shape object. So that is the first formula which I wanted to introduce to you. And not trying to scare, I'm just trying to simplify things. So let's talk about other items here. Which is the parameter. And I'm just trying to see if you can see this properly. I think there is some light issue here. All right, so now this patch has gone. Okay. All right, so now the parameter. Parameter is very simple. It is the addition of these properties here, which is three sides. Just simply add them up. So it's very simple. Just simply add them up and you will get the parameter of the triangle. Now these are the things which are used in day-to-day activity. I will tell you why these are important and why triangles play a major role. Other important thing to remember is that the triangles are formed by intersecting lines also. So many times when you draw parallel lines or you draw some railway tracks, for example, sometimes you end up creating triangles, and therefore the angle at which these lines are intersect with each other will eventually give you a triangle like this. So suppose your railway engineers are working on their railway tracks or roads being constructed. Sometimes road intersect each other. Angle at which they intersect will give you a triangle, and therefore the intersecting lines will always end up creating a triangle. And sometimes even though they are not straight lines, it will actually end up creating some sort of pattern which are triangular in shape. So triangles are everywhere, as I will explain later on in my live stream. But remember for now that triangles are also formed by intersecting lines. So if there are lines intersecting, they may not create a sphere, they will not create a circle, but they will definitely create a triangle. All right, let's move on to our next point. So understanding the concept of triangle is fundamental and also general knowledge, and it can also help us in many ways that you can think of. Well, if you know these multiple properties which I've told you, and they are not many, if you understand the triangle, there are not many properties. We know that there are acute angle triangles, there are right angle triangles, there are obtuse angle triangles, then there are area, and there are parameters. So only 5 things that you have to remember. So it's very simple. Once you start remembering these things, when you look at the world around you, you will see triangular patterns everywhere, and therefore understanding the triangular patterns can help you in more than one way, many ways. And so let me explain those things also when we go to the advanced section. Let's say that some architect is working on some designing of a floor. So if you actually use a triangle and join them together to create your overall picture scenario. So for instance, if you create a shape like this, I'm just drawing randomly a shape which is not any shape, it's a shape like this. Now this kind of a shape is very difficult to understand and also calculate the properties. So let's say this is the shape, right? So how do you calculate various parameters of this kind of a shape? I mean, if you're working on an art or creating a building or creating anything, you have to know the measurements of whatever you're drawing. And suppose you draw this kind of a figure, and what are the proportions of that? To simplify such figures, you can simply divide such pictures into triangles, and then you can individually calculate the different properties. For example, this can be divided into multiple triangles, and then you can actually handle the situation separately, and then you can not only find out the area of this this figure, whether this area is on the land or on paper. And if you're doing some engineering work, by dividing this crazy portion into triangles, you can actually work simply by say for example, if you have to find out area, you can actually find out area of this triangle, this triangle, there's 4 triangles, and then you can come up with by adding this area and say that okay, this figure has this kind of an area. And as I've told you that finding area is very simple. Similarly, what is the parameter that you can find out? And now this information can be very useful if you are actually doing something creative. Not only that, if you are working on let's say if there is a property division going on between sons and daughters, and if there are 3 siblings, that property needs to be divided. Now the father had a rectangular plot which he is leaving behind to his 3 children. So 3 siblings want a share of this property equally divided. Now the challenge is, how will you divide a square into 3 equal pieces? So if you divide them like this, you actually get 4 pieces. So this is not the way you can divide a rectangular piece. It has to be a triangular shape. Such problems can be solved by triangles. So let's say if you divide, even if you divide in this manner, then the plots which are at the rear of the property, if this is the front, this is a road in front of the plot, then these 2 plots are rendered completely useless because they are at the back side. How will you travel? So this kind of division will not work, and you have to eventually use your knowledge of triangles to create such divisions. So let me go back and draw the original plot here, and if you divide them like this, then these are all equal areas, and you can actually work out various permutation combination, and all of these plots will have opening doors in the front of the road, right? So they are all facing towards the road and they are equally divided using your knowledge of the triangle. And if the division have to be done equally, you can calculate the area of these triangles, and then you can actually work out a equal proportion among all three siblings. So these are some of the applications. There are 1,000 other applications which can help you understanding by having deep knowledge of triangle. It will help you understand the world around you. What else it can help you with? Well, there are methods by which a complex design can also be created. Say, for example, if you are building a house and then there are 3 rooms, and the owners of the house have said that they need an open space. So you can actually create, depending on what you are working on, you can create 3 rooms, and then you can even, just like intersecting lines, you can actually create rooms like this. These are the 3 rooms you can create, and in between the rooms you can have staircases. The open area is like a triangle. You can have staircases here. So triangles can help you in creating your home, also creating any building. The knowledge of triangles will also help you determine your position in space and time. So the triangles can, as I said, triangles can help you in understanding more than one way. So let's say if you are standing here, and this is where you are standing. Obviously you are standing on ground, which is straight line, or let me draw it again so that it looks straight at least. Okay, so this is straight line, you're standing on the ground, and then you suddenly start seeing an aeroplane flying here. This is an aeroplane which is flying with wings. This is the aeroplane that you're flying. So if you know the formula of the triangle, then you can eventually find out the position of the aeroplane, which is not fixed, it is actually flying. What you need to do is simply look at it and calculate. You know that the ground is straight, it will always be straight. The aeroplane will always make a 90-degree angle with respect to the ground. So you know certain properties here. You know that this angle, when you're looking at it, you know this angle, and based on these 2 angles, you can identify the position of the aeroplane in thin air. So this method is used by radar systems to basically identify the position of the flying objects, and in fact this method is also called the triangulation method. So this is one of the ways how the knowledge of triangle, simple formulas of triangle, help you basically create a novel invention like radar. Now knowledge of triangle can also help you determine the distance to far off planets. So it's very simple, just by using school mathematics and these simple formulas, you can determine what is the distance to a far off distance planet, because these far off planets and stars that you see using a telescope, you must be wondering how people find out distance. They say that millions of light years away from here, but how they know that? It's basically by using these formulas. So let's say there's a sun and Earth is going around the sun, and there is a star here, right here. So we measure the star, we look at the star using our telescope, and it obviously casts a line. Then after 6 months, Earth will be on this side of the sun. We look at this star again from that angle, and then we know that this is forming a triangle. And by taking 2 readings which are 6 months apart from each other, we will be able to calculate this angle. And you see, this is actually making an isosceles triangle. That means these two sides are equal. These two lines and this angle we can calculate by observing after 6 months. And we also know the base of this triangle, which is the diameter of the Earth's orbit. So by using these simple parameters, we can actually find out what are the length of these sides. By measuring this angle and the base, we will know exactly what is the distance to this far off star or planet. So by using these simple formulas, you can also use in astronomy. Sitting on Earth, you can find out the distance to aeroplanes which are used in radar systems. You can also find out distance to far off places, and therefore the understanding of triangle will help you in many ways, as I said, many more ways than you think of. Well, more than what you know about spheres, etc. Well, spheres and rectangle has their own position, but today we are discussing about triangles, which are simple 2D objects. And because triangles plays a very important role, it also figuratively speaking also explain the relationship between three people, so we always this is on the lighter side, we always say that there is a love triangle. So it also explains the relationship between two people or three people, and distance between them, and that is why triangle is used to explain the association of people as well. So that is why understanding of triangle is absolutely critical for our own understanding of the the world around us. And that is why I thought I will talk about triangles in our program today. Hope you enjoyed this live show, and many people participated. They even asked questions. So thank you for all those who participated in this live show. I will meet you again tomorrow, and we are discussing about ROS tomorrow. Very, very important subject. ROS is something which is new. So join back again at 5 p.m. tomorrow, and we will discuss about ROS tomorrow. So thanks for watching, friends, and I will catch you again tomorrow. Bye bye for today.